Hi, it's Rachel from Moments to Milestones, and I'm here today to put together our newest paper pad card kit. This is featuring the Echo Park Be Happy 6x6 pad, and we also use their 12x12 solids in place of cardstock, so it coordinates perfectly. So we're going to make these 7 cards, and then if you buy a kit, you'll get this picture here of all the cards and then written instructions with a picture of each card to help you through. And then at the back, I put a list of supplies we use to create the card kits. So we will go ahead and get started. I think we are starting with this card. And I will tell you, if you hear some noise in the background, I have a little helper in here die cutting for me today, so that's what you hear. So let's go ahead and get started on this little shaker card. So I think we will start with, let's build up, get rid of some of these smaller pieces. We'll build up the bee and put the centers and the flowers and that sort of thing. So we're going to start with your small bee body, and then you should have a post-it, little piece of post-it with these yellow stripes. Those are going onto the bee. And I don't know if I can get close enough and if you can see in the light, but there are embossed lines on the bee, and that is where those yellow pieces are going to go. So that little wiggly piece goes to the top and then 2 stripes at the bottom. I thought I got my glue started, but maybe not. And I'll start with the little squiggly piece right here at the top. And it's kind of hard to see because I'm on black, so I'm going to pull this over so I can make sure it's, there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put on the wings. So you have 2 vellum wings here. Don't need that anymore. And I'm just going to lay them out in front of me, like so, kind of the points facing each other. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the corner of each one, or the inside. Get them where I want them, and then I'm going to lay that bee right over the top. And we'll pick up those wings like that. So then your little bee is done. And then let's see, you have this white tag and you have this little tiny reinforcement. Punch the center out, and that's going to go around the opening on the tag. Okay, and then you have a large white flower, and you should have a large yellow center. So, and then you should also have a little post-it tape. I think I may have given mine away during class yesterday because somebody was missing something, but you should have a little post-it tape with some small, they're black on one side, yellow on the other, flower centers for these daisies. So I'll just pretend like I have mine and put them on there, and I can do that later. So those are ready to go, the honeycomb. So the little pieces are ready. So now we're going to hang on to this. We don't need that just yet. Now we're going to put together the shaker portion of our card. So first we're going to glue, I'm going to put glue on the back of that green frame. And I'm going to put this, there's really no right or wrong side, nobody's be able to tell. And I'm going to put this on the back of that. All right, and then you have that little, this is cut out of acetate, you have that little piece sticking up there, and we don't need that, so I take some scissors and just trim that off. Okay. And so it's going to look like this. Now mine, I know when I die cut it, my die slipped off the paper and this little corner is exposed, but I put that in my kit because I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to cover it up anyway, but yours should be fully covered and you have the acetate behind. And so then what you're going to do is get some thin foam strips. All right, I found some thin foam strips and I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it all around, and I'm just going to trim these. And I'm going to go all around this hexagon, and I'm going to make sure that I close it up. So we do have larger shaker bits today, like there's no glitter or anything that could come out, but you still want to close it up. We're creating the shaker well. All right. So that part's ready. And then one thing I like to do is if you have like an anti-static powder tool of some kind, I'm just going to run it around before I take the backing off, and it'll help things slide better. And then things won't get stuck to the edges where the, sometimes the edges of the foam can be a little sticky. So that helps. And then what we're going to do, we have a little bag of shaker goodies. And you can do this two ways. You can pour them into, a little something on there. You can pour them into the shaker well and then lay this on top, but you do have to remove the backing, so sometimes that can get a little tricky and those like to pop around in there. Or you can lay this piece in front of you and dump out the shaker bits on top, which is what I'm going to do. And so the only thing I would recommend here is these are flat-sided jewels. And so you're going to want to make sure that they're all, the flat side is down so they don't get stuck. They will slide around better if that flat side is on the bottom. All right, so they're all right side up. And then I had someone ask in class, and you certainly could glue a few in place if you wanted, because when your card's not shaking, they're all going to settle down here. So I am just going to glue maybe one right there. I'm going to put one right here as well. You just want to be careful. You don't want to go too far that you can't put your frame down. If they're too, you don't want to go on the stitching for sure. So I'm going to pull all those into the center. Okay, and then I'm going to remove the backing on this frame. All right, and then because I want this, my corner, it has a bad corner. It really won't matter which way you put it on, but I'm trying to hide that bad corner, and I'm just going to lay it down on top of that tag. And give it a good press. And now you have a cute little shaker. I think that other one may have got caught on some of that glue. That's all right. So there it is. And now you have this other reinforcement, and that is going to, you can leave it yellow if you want, but I wanted it to match the frame, and I also wanted it to match the depth, so I'm going to take a few little pieces of foam so I can pop that up as well. This, you don't have to, and plenty of people in class just glue it on and it'll be fine. All right, so now that little tag is complete. So we have all of our pieces put together. Now we're ready to put the card together. So we're going to start with this daisy piece. I'll put that down onto the white card base centered. I have a white border all the way around. And then you should have a striped piece of paper that's going to go at the bottom. I'm using a substitute piece here. You'll have the stripes. And you're going to just glue that at the bottom, and then you should have this black and white dotted piece, and it is going to go right over the top. So, and then let's go ahead and take our twine. So you should have a piece of twine that you are going to cut in half, and then we're going to put it inside each one of our tags. So I'm going to come in from the back. Nope, I'm going to come in from the front. I always do that wrong the first time. Come in from the front, and then pull the other two pieces through. So, do that again. You can trim them as necessary. So now I'm going to put these on there, kind of, oh, there's my little flower centers. I'll put those on when we finish the card. I do want this to be the same height. I popped that up, so I'm just going to use some of that same foam that I used. And then this I'm just going to glue down. So I'll just put some glue on there. Alright, so this tag, and I'm just going to have it slightly overlapping that black. There we go. And then I'll pull the backing off this little white tag. And I'm going to kind of line that up like so. All right. And I am going to put just a touch of glue over those so they don't come undone. And they won't come off of there. All right. So now we have the honeycomb and the bee. So I'm just going to glue some of that on the corner. Hard to know where it's going to hit. I'll just go in the center. Like so. So it's kind of hanging off. And then the bee, I did pop up. So I'll put a couple foam squares on the back. Maybe just one. I don't know what's going to fit. He's kind of little. Maybe a half one. And then I'm going to have him, I don't want to cover up my sentiment, so I'm just going to slide him over till I can read it. There we go. I did not pull the backing off that. Okay. And then we have those little flowers. So I have a large one up here, and that's how I'm covering that weird edge on my hexagon, so no one will know. And then the other one, put it right on the edge of that. It quits sticking to my finger. Go. And then I have the other one down here hanging off the white tag. Oh, I still need that. Okay. Like so, and then I'm going to go finish those two small daisies with those flower centers since I found them. And they are black on one side, yellow on the other. All right. And that card is completed. All right, our next card is Hello, Rain or Shine. You're always on my mind. So we pulled back in that Spellbinders Umbrella Bloom die for this card. So let's do a little bit of this first. We're gonna put that gingham, what I do with my adhesive, we're gonna put that gingham onto the card base. I'm just gonna center that on there. You're gonna have a very thin white border. Okay. And then this blue oval, and there are hearts on it. So some, if it doesn't matter to you, they could be upside down. They really kind of look like rain to me, which is why I chose it. But if you want the hearts right side up, and I'm just going to put that right in the center of the card, kind of use the gingham as a guide. Okay. I'm going to put that up here while we assemble our umbrella. So let's get out the silver handle, the little black handle, and then you need the solid black piece and the black and white polka dot. So what I'm going to do is grab 3 foam squares, and I'm going to pull this up. I don't know if we're going to be able to see, but there are embossed lines on this piece, and I want the foam, really it should look like this to you, and there's like lines, so that's the inside of the umbrella. So I'm going to put the, oops, I have 4. See if you can see this. I have the foam underneath that embossed line, so I'm going to peel off the foam. And then this piece should line up with those embossed lines and go on just like that. Catch that adhesive. I already realized I missed a step. So it's going to look like that. But this piece was supposed to get glued in there first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just put a little bit of wet glue on the back. Really, you should have glued this to one of those pieces, to the top piece first, but I'm going to go ahead and go in there, get it centered. Oops, that's why you'd glue it first. This is tricky. Press in. So then you have your little umbrella, so cute. And then I had my handle match my umbrella, so I'm going to put glue down there on the handle. That on. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and drop this on our card. So what I like to do is flip it over, and you have those little areas where we didn't put foam. And so I'm going to put foam there to stabilize that. That is still not sticking, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay. And then I'm going to put some glue on this yellow portion here. And I have mine slightly like so. And then I'm going to glue down my handle. So there we go. So on this card here, I actually glued this silver piece to this front piece, and so it was raised up because of the foam, and so I had to raise up my handle. So on this one, because I glued it to the bottom piece, I didn't have to do that. So, and you wouldn't have to here, I just like to keep that popped up look, but if you don't like little tedious pieces of foam, then you might not want to do that. All right, so now let's find our florals. So I think there's 8, and we're actually 8 of these yellow, and there should be 3 of these coneflower looking things. And then when you cut these dies, you get 4 at a time. I only use 7. Usually odd numbers are best. So I'm going to take this one and I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to toss it. If you want to use it, you can, but know that you only have 7 flower centers. So on these, there's 4 bigger flowers. I'm going to, these are black on the other side. Oops, I just lost one. Where did it go? And I'm going to put those in the centers of those bigger flowers. There's that. And then you have 3 left. My fingers are super sticky. I think I need to go wash them maybe. So we're going to put the other 3 on those. So I'm going to start with that little one right there. And this one. Okay. So the flower centers are on. So now let's find this long stemmed piece here. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to trim off the bottom branch here and the bottom branch there. So I end up with something that looks like that. Toss those. And we're going to glue the cone flowers on those. So I'm just going to put a little glue on the end of each branch or stem. And then I'm going to put the flowers on. 1, 2, and 3. I really hope I'm on camera. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm not. Let's see. 1, 2, and 3. So it looks like that. So we trimmed the 2 branches away, stuck the flowers right on there. We may need to trim that down to tuck it in, but we'll worry about that when we get there. Then one other trim that I made on one of these long branches, and I did it, let's see, right here. You can see I have half of one sticking out here and the bottom half is there. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, and I'm just going to go in there and trim. So now I have that piece and that piece. And now it's just a matter of layering things up. So you can try to match what I have if you want to look at your picture, or you can just make your own arrangement. So I have this sticking out there, and this, and then I used foam here and there for dimension. So you can see I used it there. And depending on where you have foam under that umbrella, it can make it interesting to try to tuck things in. So you may have to trim. Okay. And let's see, this one is going to go right in there like that. I'm going to trim off the bottom because I can tell it's not going to fit. And this piece is going in there. And one thing I like to do sometimes is tuck things in or use like tape runner on the back of these so that I can move them. Sometimes that makes it easier. Or laying them out and using some press and seal, whatever works for you. But I'm pretty confident, and I'm just going to follow along because I have the sample right here next to me. And that, oops, that's going to go in there. And I did pop up those cone flowers, so I'm going to do that. I should have done it before let's All right, so I put foam on the back of those coneflowers. I should have done that first, but I am just going to glue down this. I'll try that again. There we go. And so now we're going to go in with these bigger flowers. So I did notice though when I cut this class that I used the opposite colors and the opposite dye on accident. So like this was light yellow, but in your kit it's going to be bright yellow. So if you're looking to copy mine, you're just going to need to make the colors opposite of what they are, or come up with your own arrangement. That one is in there as well. I like the way that's looking. Trim that down. There we go. All right, so I have a little flower here. Go. And then I have this one tucked in behind. And this one tucked in behind as well. There. And this one. And right here in the center. And I'm going to tuck those two leaves under it. Then this one is going to go back here. And this piece was on the front. And this little flower is going to go right there. I'm probably going to need to trim that, so I'm just going to do that. It's kind of coming out here, and then the only thing I don't like is right here I have a pretty big spot of black. So I'm going to trim that down since I have that extra piece, and I'm going to tuck it in there just to fill in that black. All right, we're going to finish off this card with the sentiments. So I did pop up the hello and I left the strip. All right, I have the backing removed from the sentiment. So I'm going to use this as a guide for a minute. Put that on top. I'm going to put glue on the back of this sentiment strip and put it right under the sentiment to finish this card. That card is finished. Okay, our next card is Love Kisses and Birthday Wishes. So we're going to start with these two honeycomb pieces, and we're going to stretch them across that green paper, and we're going to overlap them slightly. Now mine has a weird cut, so I'm going to try to hide that. So just like that, and actually, let's see. I'm going to use some press and seal to hold those together. Okay, I'm going to put glue on the back of this honeycomb. Flip it over and glue it down. Then I'm going to flip up the other side and put adhesive on the back of that. And then lay it down. And then I'm going to carefully pull back on the press and seal. And now I have that right where I want it. I'm gonna go in with some long straight edge scissors and trim this. All right, so now you have all these little hexagon pieces, and we're gonna fill in the honeycomb with them. And so each paper is double-sided. You have green or yellow, you have floral or blue polka dots, and I just went in and randomly filled spots. So I'm gonna fill them in and then go back and glue them. All right, so I filled in all the spaces. You should have enough to fill in all the spaces, and you should have some half pieces, which I used where things were hanging off. If you don't, lots of people, like, you could just leave this green off and have that show through as well. So I have them where I want them. I'm gonna go back in and glue them all down, and I'll be right back. All right, so I have all of those into place. I'm gonna take my scissors and make any trims of the parts that are sticking up over the edge. All right, so I have that all trimmed down. Now I'm ready to put this piece onto my card base. You're gonna have a very thin white border. All right, so we're gonna put our bees together. So you should have 2 yellow bodies and 2 sets of stripes. They're black on one side, yellow on the other. I'll flip them all around. And I'm gonna put some glue on the bottom of each body and put those bottoms on. All right, and now there's shorter ones. Those probably go here, and then the longer ones go on top. So let's do the shorter. Line those up. I may have picked the wrong one. One of them has more curve than the other, and that one needs to go up there. You'll be able to tell once you start putting them on. All right, so there's that. And then I'm going to put the, let's see, what do we have next? We have the antennas. So I'm going to flip those over. I have a little piece of scratch paper here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to flip them over where I can see the black, maybe. Go. And I'm going to get them lined up the way I want them. And I'm going to put a little glue on the top. That. And glue them on. Actually, you know what? I forgot to stop. You have this piece of paper. It's yellow on one side if you can't find it, black on the other. I'm going to trim off a little square, and that is supposed to go behind the eyes. So let's do that first. So we have a place to glue the antennas. Could also put glue on the antennas. And get them the way I want them. Oh, I glued the yellow wrong side. Let's try that again. You want the black to show through the eyes, unless you want your bee to have yellow eyes. All right, so I have the antennas on the bee, and then I'm going to do kind of that same thing we did with the other bee. We're going to get 2 of his wings, point them towards each other, put glue on them, and then lay our bee over them, like so. So I'm going to repeat that with the antennas and the wings on the other bee. All right, so I have those 2 bees done, and I'm going to pop them up. So I need some foam squares. And then I'm just going to lay them out here wherever looks good to you. One there and one up here this time. So a little bit different than the sample. And then I use these gems kind of as the little dashes after a bee, or you could just put them around the sentiment. I'm going to stick with what I did, so I need 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, and that card is finished. Alright, our next card is Thank You for Your Kindness. This one has lots of little bits in it, so you want to be careful when you open it. Lots of gems and whatnot. So, I'm going to kind of slide everything off to the side, and let's get, see, like there's a tiny gem right there. And we're going to work on this part. So you should have a scrap. I have pieced 2 pieces together for mine, but you should have one single scrap that you're going to make work behind that opening. And so some of yours will have the hole from the paper pad in it, so you may have to be strategic. Sometimes some people had to turn them diagonal to get them to fit. However you get it to fit, and you're just going to glue it down. So I'm just going to put some glue around, so, and then lay it over, press down. And then you'll just take some scissors and chop off anything that's hanging over. Like so. And then this piece is going to get glued down to the white card base. Alright, so that's going to go in the center. You'll have a very thin white border. And then you're going to take this white honeycomb die cut and just drop that in there. So put some glue on the back. Pieces in. Let's find your sentiment and this little black and white polka dot piece. Glue those together. And then that is going to go in the center of the honeycomb. I didn't pop it up. You could if you wanted. So now we're going to put together our bees and florals. So let's start with the bees. So you should have 2 bee bodies. One's a little bit bigger and one's a little bit smaller. So for the bigger one, you're going to use the larger stripes with the 2 squigglies, and then on the other one, you're going to use the one that just has 3. Alright, there's the stripes, and then we're going to do the wings. So you have a larger set of wings that's like double wings. Those are for the larger bee. I'm going to put those together and then put some glue inside and then lay the bee over the top. There's one. other bee has these long skinny. Alright, so that bee is done. And then you have 2 greenery pieces. So on this long piece, I'm going to snip it right here. So you end up with 2 that look like that. And then on this one, I'm just going to trim off the bottom so you also end up with 2 pieces. For the flowers, you have 2 large blue and 2 smaller yellow. And then you should have these asterisk looking pieces. So on these more pointy edge flowers, I'm going to put those asterisk centers. And I did tone on tone. And then they're all going to get the black gems in the center. So you should have this largest. Actually, I'm going to get a exact craft knife to do this. And I'm going to put that on this one. And then you should have the next size down. This one. And the tiny one is going to go there. Alright, so there is those, and then you should have, I'm going to get rid of these little acetate pieces. You should have 5 of these little white gems and a couple of these clear hearts. So those we'll use to finish the card. I'm just going to slide those over for now. And we are going to put the florals and the bees on the card. So I'm going to use foam for the bees. So this larger bee I have down here. I just want to make sure his leaves are on the, or his leaves, his wings are on the card. And then the other one is up here. And then I also use foam on the 2 larger blue flowers. So I think on this blue one I'm going to have to cut one in half. It's kind of thin. And then I also trimmed off these long stems, so we don't really need those. So I'm going to have one here and one coming out down here. And then the flowers are going to go over, so. There, there, and then I got a little yellow flower there and the other one there. Alright, so there's our florals, and then you also have those 2 skinny branches. So I just tucked those in. I didn't put any flowers on them just to add some more color. Trim that one out a little bit. We need to do the same on that one. Alright, so we're going to finish this one by adding all those gems. So I think there's 7 in total. I have 3 white and a heart up here. So let's go ahead and place some and then I'll. that card is finished. All right, so our next card is everything is gonna be okay. All right, let's start. We're gonna put the blue polka dot paper down. All right, and then this blue piece is gonna go right here. All right, so that paper is on. So now I've spread out all my die cuts so I can see what I have, and we're gonna start with these honeycomb pieces, and they're gonna get glued right down to that bee paper. I kept them inside the bee paper. You could certainly go off the edge if you wanted to. It's up to you. I kept mine on the bees. And then you have this little scrap here, and I'm going to cut it down so that I have 3 hexagons. So I'm just going to take my scissors and trim away all the excess. Let's see, I'm going to take this one and this one. So it kind of works best if you can flip it around and just use the straight edge. So then I'm going to end up with that. And that piece is going to go up here. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue down on those. Alright, there's those 2 pieces. And so now I'm going to go ahead and put my bee together and stick him in there. So we need the bottom piece. Have a little scrap of black to go behind the bee's eyes. Maybe a little big. And these 2 antennas. Things are kind of fiddly to why they just didn't put it on the bee's head. Okay. I have his antennas that don't want to stay. I'm going to do his wings. Alright, I got my little bee done, and so I am going to put some foam on the back and stick him in the center of that circle. There he goes. And then we have the everything is going to be okay, and I cut banner ends into that, so I'm just going to go up the center of it a little ways and then cut and cut. And I didn't pop it up, but I kind of feel like it needs to be popped up. I think I'm going to pop it up this time. But I really want the foam inside of those hexagons. That makes sense. So, there we go. That way it's not crooked, because I feel like it looks kind of crooked there. And then I went all the way over to the edge on that. So there's that. And so now what we need to do is all the florals. So we have a blue flower up here with a single leaf. And I didn't pop any of this up, so. Got the leaf going there. Flower there, oops. And then this has the yellow flower center. And then I have 2 of these greenery pieces. So I'm going to have one come in from the top right of this. And the other one is going to be coming from the bottom of the sentiment. Like so. And then we're just going to tuck in the flowers. So I'm going to have one here, and I've got one on the edge. I don't know how that's going to work since I popped that up, so we'll see. Oh yeah, that's going to work. I'll just put it right here. Okay. And then the other one is right in there. Then you should have the 3 yellow centers for those flowers. 1, 2, 3. All right. That card is finished. All right, our next card is Thinking of You. This is a center step card, horizontal orientation. So we're going to start. You should have this blue daisy paper with these on it. We're going to open our card and we're going to slide it in like so. And the only place you want to put adhesive are on these 2 strips. If you put adhesive in the back and you close it, you're going to glue your card shut. So let's just put some adhesive. I'm just going to put some on each strip. And then we're going to slide that in, and we want to have a nice, I didn't put enough glue to have wiggle room. It's already sticking. No. Okay. Just want to make sure that you have an even white border on the top and the sides. Okay, press down where the adhesive is. And so now it looks like that. And by doing that whole strip, it kind of makes your card a little bit more sturdy that way. When you have that open, it just helps with the stability of it. But you could certainly get away with just cutting strips if you wanted to. All right, so for this, we're going to put the stripe strip on the center of the bottom. Trying to match that same white border. And then you have this black piece that you're going to have that same white border. It's going to go to the edge down there, but that way it'll have the same white border all the way around that every other piece does. Okay. And now you have this daisy cut apart, and we're going to put foam on the back of that. Pop that up in the center. so. And then the other thing we're going to pop up, and you don't have to, you can glue it straight down if you want, is the sentiment. Alright, so I have that popped up and the backing removed. I'm just going to center that under that daisy and on the yellow. Go. And then quick finish to this card is you have some twine, and we're going to slide it behind that front panel. And then we're just going to tie a bow. I'm going to pull it tight, and then I'm going to use my reverse tweezers to hold it while I tie the bow. Trim off the excess. And if you wanted, you could put a little bit of glue behind there to hold that bow in place, keep it from sliding all around. And that card is finished. Alright, one more card, just to you. It's kind of a generic sentiment. You could turn it into a birthday card or just an encouraging card, whatever you want. So we're going to start with this striped paper. Put adhesive on the back. And finding the bottom of your card, we are going to center it. So it has the same white border on the bottom and both sides. And then we're going to take this piece, put adhesive on the back. And then we're going to match that border. We're going to put it at the top. We're going to match it up on the side. Just like so. It's going to look like that. I'm going to open my card, take the twine, and we are going to tie a bow. Do that same thing, pull it nice and tight, let that hold it for me. And tie the bow, pull it nice and tight. Okay, I'm going to trim this end a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to get that bow right where I want it. I'm just going to move it over a little bit if I can. Alright, I've got it where I want it. So then I'm going to put some glue behind it, kind of over that seam, so that it stays in place and doesn't slide off the card. So you don't need a whole lot, just a little glue. And then you can open your card and do that same thing so it stays in place. Alright, and then we're going to take our flower and put it right, that will hold that also tied shut. We're going to put this blue flower right over the bow. And then the flower center. And you could certainly kind of jazz this one up a little bit with some glitter, maybe on all the bees' wings, or just leave it be. But that finishes off that card as well. And that also finishes our video for today. So these are the 7 cards that we created. Thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in a kit, you can find our kits on our website at www.frommomentstomilestones.com, and you can search for this is a paper pad kit. It's called Be Happy by Echo Park. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.